So in the previous demos, we have shown you how you can use Nanobox to create a local development environment. We've also shown you how you can deploy an app into production using Nanobox. But this time what I want to highlight and want to show is how Nanobox allows you to deploy your individual code base to multiple cloud providers. And the configuration is identical. There's no configuration difference, and I just wanted to show you how Nanobox does that. So since we've already shown in a previous demo how we can actually launch an app and what that process looks like, I went ahead and launched two applications, one on AWS and one on DigitalOcean. So if we hop into those, we'll see that at this point, we haven't had any deploys. We just have the application, the platform provisioned. It's up and ready to go. Okay, and then just a quick refresher here on the application. So it's a very simple Python application. It uses the Flask microframework. And all that it does when we navigate to the root path is it just returns hello Nanobox in the body. So sufficient to demonstrate Nanobox. And in the box file, and the box file, as a reminder, is how we configure Nanobox, or how we tell Nanobox what our application needs to run. So since this is a Python application, we've said go ahead and build the environment using the Python engine. And then when actually running the app in production, we need a web process. We just called it main. And to start that process, we need to run python app.py, which is our application over here. Okay, so with that said, we go back over to, first, let's start with the DigitalOcean app. So we've got our deploy instructions. Let's go ahead and pop that open. And the first thing we need to do is add this application as a remote to our project. So back in our project, we just need to ensure that we're in the root directory, which we are. So I'm going to go ahead and add the DO test application as a remote. And normally I would just, if I was just had one application in production, I would just add that. But in this case, since I have two, I'm going to give it an alias, and I'm just going to call it DO. Okay, so now we have linked the DO application. So now let's hop over to the AWS application, and let's do the same thing. It's in the same state, it's just ready to be added as a remote. This time we'll give it the alias AWS. And we can now see that if we list our remotes, we have two. We have an AWS test and we have a DO test. So let's go ahead and deploy to them. So first, let's deploy to AWS. Nanobox deploy AWS. And it looks like I have not yet started my Nanobox here. So just give that a quick minute to actually to boot the virtual machine. And as a reminder here, what this is actually doing and why we actually need to have Nanobox, and in this case, I'm using the virtual machine. And why does that need to be started in order for us to do a seemingly simple deploy? Well, Nanobox will do in order to do a deploy, it will build the runtime locally. And the runtime will include everything that this application needs to run. So in this case, it's Python. It's going to include Python, the pip modules, all of the necessary binaries and libraries for this application to run. So Nanobox is going to go ahead and build that all locally, and then it's going to publish that to the production application. Okay, so now we can see that has happened. We've built the runtime, and now we are uploading the runtime to the DigitalOcean application. So because this is the first deploy to this particular application, it is going to have to send the entire runtime, which will take significantly longer than the subsequent deploys. As we mentioned in the previous demo, subsequent deploys will only sync the differences between the resulting environments, and it's much quicker. But in this case, we do need to send the full runtime up there. Okay, so looks like we've done that. Let's just verify that that deploy is off and running. It is. So while that's happening, let's go ahead and now deploy to, let's see, did we deploy to the AWS? So now let's deploy to our DigitalOcean. Okay, so we'll notice that the runtime has already been built from the previous deploy that went to the AWS app, and there haven't been any changes, so it's going to use that one. And this time it's running the same process of creating that runtime and uploading it to the DigitalOcean application. And even it's maybe a little bit confusing in this particular context, but actually this is the first deploy for this other app as well. So it's not the first deploy of this code base, but it is the first deploy of this application, so it is going to have to send the entire runtime, which is a little bit longer than usual. But looks like we're just getting to the end there. And okay, so first we'll notice that the AWS test has our Python application up and running. The deploy is finished. Let's go ahead and check on the status of the DigitalOcean. Looks like it is pretty close, configuring the services, starting the Python application, and here we'll be adding to the load balancer. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and see if the app is live. There we go. So our do test nanoapp.io is live. Well, let's hop over to our AWS application, and let's see. It is also live. So here you can see that I have the exact same application, no difference whatsoever, using the same box file, the same code base. I was able, without any distinction or any differences, without following a different process, I was able to launch that code base to Amazon Web Services and also to DigitalOcean. And the same goes for any other provider, Google Compute or Linode or Microsoft Azure, any other provider that we have or that may come. So hopefully this has been a pretty interesting demonstration on how really what I hope that you could take from this is that you don't have to think anymore about the specifics about how do I get my app up on X provider? How do I need to go specialize and learn the intricacies and how to run and how to manage that provider? So when you're using Nanobox, you don't have to do any of that, and your choice of where to run your provider can be made on other more important decisions, like who's going to give us the best SLA, what's going to be the best performance, who can provide data centers closest to our geographic location, to our end users, and so you're really able to focus on those sort of decisions. So I thank you for tuning in, and we've got some really cool stuff coming up. So I encourage you to continue to stay tuned. Thanks.